Welcome back. Let's dive back into the world of reading strategies, where we are exploring the powerful tool of author's purpose. For our new viewers, a warm welcome to our community. We are thrilled to have you on board. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more educational content, literacy strategies, and reading tips to enhance your skills. Let's recap what we covered in our last video. The reading strategy, which is as easy as a pie. Understanding an author's purpose. But have you ever wondered who is an author? Simply put, an author is the person who writes something. In other words, a writer. And what do we mean by purpose? Purpose is the intent or reason why an author writes something. In other words, it's the reason behind his writing. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. Why does an author write? The answer is simple. An author writes to do one of the three things: persuade, inform, entertain. These three reasons are the foundation of an author's purpose, and remembering them is as easy as pie. Now, let's break down the first slice of pie, P, which stands for persuade. But what does it mean to persuade? To persuade means to convince or influence the reader to think, feel, or believe something, or even to take action. Let's put this into practice. Read this passage carefully and ask yourself, what is the author trying to do? Are they trying to inform, entertain, or persuade? As we stand at the crossroads of our planet's future, I urge you to consider the devastating impact of climate change. Rising temperatures, melting ice caps, and extreme weather events are not just statistics, they are a harsh reality that demands our immediate attention. We must take collective action to reduce our carbon footprint, invest in renewable energy, and protect our natural resources. The future of our planet depends on it. Let us join forces to create a sustainable tomorrow for ourselves and for generations to come. This passage is a perfect example of persuasive writing. The author's purpose is clear: to convince the reader to take action against climate change. Notice the persuasive techniques used: emotional appeal, devastating impact, harsh reality, urgency, immediate attention. The future of our planet depends on it. Collective responsibility. We must take collective action. Call to action. Let us join forces. Appeal to values for ourselves and for generations to come. The author's tone is urgent yet hopeful, encouraging the reader to take action. The use of rhetorical devices such as repetition, we must, adds emphasis and makes the message more memorable. Let's move on to the second slice of pie, I, which stands for inform. When an author informs, they are trying to teach you something, share knowledge, or provide information. The goal is to educate or enlighten the reader rather than persuade or entertain. Here is an example passage. The human brain is a complex and fascinating organ. It weighs approximately 1.4 kilograms and contains over 100 billion neurons. These neurons communicate with each other through electrical and chemical signals, enabling us to think, learn, and remember. The brain also controls our movements, regulates our emotions, and enables us to perceive the world around us. Can you identify the author's purpose in this passage? Is it to persuade, inform, or entertain? The author's purpose in this passage is to inform the reader about the human brain, providing facts and information about its structure, functions, and capabilities. The text is neutral and objective, aiming to educate the reader rather than persuade or entertain them. Let's dive into the last slice of pie. E stands for entertain. When an author entertains, their goal is to engage, amuse, or delight the reader. This can be done through storytelling, humor, vivid descriptions, or imaginative language. Entertaining writing can be found in novels, short stories, poetry, comics, and even humorous essays. Let's take a look at an example passage to see entertaining writing in action. As I walked into the coffee shop, I tripped on the welcome mat and face planted into a display of pastry boxes. The barista rushed over to help me up, laughing so hard she snorted her latte out her nose. I stood up, dazed and covered in croissant crumbs, and declared, "Well, I guess that's one way to get a free breakfast." This passage is a great example of entertaining writing. The author uses humor, the absurdity of the situation, and the barista's reaction are comical. Imagery, vivid descriptions of the scene, like face planted into a display of pastry boxes and covered in croissant crumbs, create a mental picture. Wit, the protagonist's quick remark, "Well, I guess that's one way to get a free breakfast," adds to the humor. The author's goal is to entertain the reader, making them chuckle or smile. Now that we have explored the PI framework, let's dive deeper into the world of fiction and non-fiction. You might be wondering, what's the connection between these two genres and persuasive, informative, and entertaining writing? To recap, persuasive writing can be both fiction and non-fiction. Informative writing is typically non-fiction. Entertaining writing is often fiction. Before we put these concepts into practice, let's define fiction and non-fiction and explore their key differences. What type of writing is considered fiction? Fiction refers to plot, settings, and characters created from the imagination. We read or watch this material for fun. Some examples are a book about a cat that talks, a cartoon on TV, novels, short stories, fantasy, science fiction, romance, mystery. Can you define non-fiction and give some examples? Non-fiction refers to factual stories that are based on real people and true events. We read or watch this material for information. Examples of this are a book about animal life cycle, a documentary on TV, self-help books, history books, memoirs, biographies, textbooks, essays, journalism. Let's play fiction or non-fiction with a new activity. Your task is to identify which is fiction and which one is non-fiction. Ready to start? You're browsing a bookstore. You pick up two books. Book 1, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Book 2, Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. Which book is fiction and which is non-fiction? What's your verdict? The Hunger Games is fiction because it's a novel with imaginary characters and events. Steve Jobs is nonfiction because it's a biography based on the real life of Steve Jobs. Would you like another challenge? You are searching online. You come across two articles. Article 1, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Book summary. Article 2, The History of the Internet by Britannica. Which article is about fiction and which is about non-fiction? Choose wisely. The Lord of the Rings is fiction because it's a fantasy novel. The history of the internet is non-fiction because it's a factual account of the internet's development. Ready for the next one? You are at a library. You find two biographies. Book 1, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the quest for a fantastic future. Book 2, The Catcher in the Rye, biography of the author J.D. Salinger. Which book is a non-fiction biography of a real person and which is a biography of a fiction author? Decide now. Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX is non-fiction because it's a biography based on Elon Musk's real life. The Catcher in the Rye is fiction because it's a novel with imaginary characters and events, even though it's written by a real author, J.D. Salinger. Are you up for more? Imagine you're browsing a bookshelf. You pick up two books. Book 1, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Book 2, The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Which book is fiction and which is non-fiction? Make your choice. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is fiction because it's a novel with imaginary characters, events, and a magical world. On the other hand, The Diary of a Young Girl is non fiction because it's the real diary of Anne Frank, a Jewish girl who lived during World War II, documenting her actual experiences. Did this activity spark a new interest in reading and exploring different genres? Passage investigation time. Use spy to crack the code and identify fiction versus non-fiction. Read the following text and answer. Every time I go to sleep, I hear a noise under my bed. I think it is a monster, but I am not sure. I call out my mother and father, but all I hear is silence. Quickly, I pretend it's nothing and pull the covers up over my head. What is the author's purpose to write this? Is the author aiming to persuade, educate, or delight? The author's purpose in writing this passage is to entertain. The use of imaginative and suspenseful language, such as, I hear a noise under my bed, and I think it is a monster, suggests that the author is trying to create a sense of tension and fear, which is typical of entertaining stories. The passage appears to be a work of creative fiction, likely from a children's story or a horror story. Is it fiction or non fiction? The passage is fictional in nature. The presence of imaginative elements, such as hearing a monster under the bed, and the suspenseful tone suggest that the passage is a work of creative fiction rather than a factual or true account. Shall we analyze the next passage? I think that everyone should vote for Sia to be the head girl. She's more active in school than Shivam. She's a wonderful person who is always cheerful and friendly. And I know she will be the best head girl this school could have. What is the author's primary objective? To convince, to educate, or to engage? The author seeks to influence the reader's decision in favor of Sia. Is it fiction or non fiction? The text appears to be a genuine endorsement or recommendation for a student, Sia, to be elected as head girl, which suggests that it is based on real people and events. Are you set to tackle the next text? Studies show that 5% of students learn from lecturing, 10% learn from listening, 20% learn from reading, 30% learn from activities, and 35% learn from group work. What is the author's purpose to write this text? The author's purpose in writing this passage is to inform. The text presents statistical information and data about how students learn, which suggests that the author's intention is to educate or inform the reader about this topic. The text appears to be neutral and objective, providing factual information without expressing a personal opinion or emotion. Is it fiction or non fiction? This passage is non fiction. The passage presents statistical data and research findings, which suggests that it is based on factual information and evidence. The use of specific percentages and the phrase studies show also indicates that the text is reporting on actual research or data rather than presenting a fictional or imaginative scenario. We are wrapping up our video now. However, our author's purpose journey doesn't end here. In our next video, part 3, we'll delve deeper into more passages, breaking them down in detail to help you master the topic. Plus, you will learn how to transform passages from one purpose to another. I hope this journey will help you master the author's purpose, making reading a breeze. Before you go, don't forget to like and comment below with your thoughts or questions. Share this video with others who might find it helpful. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here. Thanks for watching. Stay happy, healthy, and inspired. See you soon.